Kevin, you're just video voice recording, right? Not live streaming. Okay. Okay, so, but this, it can be, are you posting this later or? Okay, but it is FOI-able. Yes. If any, okay. Okay.
When they signed this, they signed away.
I know, but this is a public meeting, so that's why I just want to make sure. Okay, so we're going to get this started. Welcome to the public meeting to determine the interim trustee for Milton wards 1, 6, 7, and 8. Before we begin this meeting, Trustee Pappen will honor the land.
Halton, as we know it today, is rich in tradition, is rich in history and modern tradition of the many First Nations and the Métis, from the Anishinaabe to the Attawandaron, the Haudenosaunee, and the Métis. The lands surrounding the Great Lakes are steeped in Indigenous history. Thank you. As we gather today on these treaty lands, we have the responsibility to honor and respect the four directions: land, waters, plants, animals, ancestors that walked before us, and all the wonderful elements of creation that exist. We would like to acknowledge and thank the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nations for sharing their traditional territory with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Trustee Pappen. So just for the public's sake, please note that this meeting is video voice recorded, and please turn all your items, devices, whatever, to silent. Actually, Kevin, should we log in? I think we'll just go around the table to do our deliberations. Does that make sense for everybody? Instead of logging in to have a speakers list, we'll go around the table for deliberations, voting. The votes are a secret ballot, and I will have to arrange for the secret ballots because I thought they might be here. Stuart? Yeah, you can log in, Kelly. Stuart? Okay, first, just some background. On June 21st, 2018, Trustee Tim Graves gave her notice of resignation for her seat as trustee of Milton wards 1, 6, 7, and 8. Since then, the board has followed a process outlined that evening to seek out candidates to fill the role as per the requirements of the Education Act. This afternoon, we'll be hearing from 6 candidates who would like to be trustee for Milton wards 1, 6, 7, and 8 from September 5th to November 30th, 2018. The successful candidate will be ratified as the trustee designate this evening at a special board meeting at 7:30 p.m. and will be sworn in as trustee at the September 5th regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. The candidates will each have 10 minutes to make a presentation to the Board of Trustees based on 3 questions they received. Trustees may not ask questions of the candidates. After all candidates have had their opportunity to speak, the trustees will deliberate and vote by secret ballot. In the case of a tie, trustees will deliberate on the tied candidates and vote again by secret ballot. If a stalemate occurs, the candidates will be provided with a new question that they have not seen previously and will each have 5 minutes to present to the trustees based on that question. Voting will happen again by secret ballot. If, after 2 rounds of presentations and several rounds of voting, there is still a tie, the successful candidate will be drawn between the tied candidates. Are there any questions or issues before we bring in our first candidate? Okay, seeing none, we are actually, I believe, 5 minutes early. Sure. Executive Officer McFadden.
I know that deliberations will occur in public session, so I wanted to reiterate what I've said before about these matters, in that deliberation should be focused on what you hear in the interview or the presentation by the candidate and what you may have read in resumes, but shouldn't consider anything that you might know about a candidate through your own knowledge of them, and should focus and be restricted to what is heard in the presentation and what might have been submitted in a resume.
Trustee Daniele.
Thank you. The previous 2 times we've done this, because we were discussing identifiable persons, there was a motion made to go into private session for the deliberations. Is there a reason that we're not doing that again, or is that a possibility if someone made a motion that it would be considered, or would that be out of bounds to make such a motion? Probably Deborah would be the best one to answer that.
Deborah?
I can only say that the Information and Privacy Commissioner of Ontario considers job competitions to be private information. And if we have a request for disclosure of anything that occurs during a job competition, we're not obliged to disclose it. So, as far as whether you go into private session, I leave that to the board to decide.
But we would not be out of bounds if we were to make such a motion.
If you were in private session and that information was requested through a Freedom of Information request, it would not have to be provided. That I can say.
Go ahead, Trustee Harvey-Hope.
There may be a difference between having a public meeting and knowing who is in attendance and being video, voice recording, and having, so that kind of thing. So, I mean, there's 3 layers, right? Private session, public meeting, and publicly recording it, which puts it into a different realm.
Does anybody else have comments on this? Trustee Amos.
I honestly don't remember going into private session the last time. I believe everything was done in public session.
Trustee Daniele.
But I did check with former Trustee Graves, and they were removed. I believe they were not in the room when we did. It doesn't really matter to me. I know I will be very circumspect in what I say if it's going to be public, because whoever we choose will be somebody that we need to work with for the next 5 months. And I could feel differently than anybody else and say things and end up having to work with that person. So I know I will be extremely circumspect.
So you're suggesting doing deliberations in a private session?
Suggesting as a thought, I'm not married to it. If the rest of the board, maybe listen to the interviews, and then if somebody wants to make a motion go into private, then we can do it all above board, make the motion and vote on it.
Okay.
That's the only thing I'm thinking. I don't know if anybody else has the same discomfort I am, and I'm willing to go with the group.
Okay.
So the town of Oakville recently replaced a councillor through this type of process. And I watched enough of the video to see that the presentations were made in public, and then the swearing in, of course, was done in public, but I do not remember what they did for that part. But I just wonder if somebody could do a quick bit of research to see if it matters what they did for that part, because certainly, legal matters, staffing matters are all protected or private session issues. So I think that once we've heard, it's a really good idea to give that some serious consideration, which how we want to do that.
Trustee Oliver.
I was there at the town of Oakville during the interview process, and yeah, the presentations were made publicly. I can't recall if councillors were permitted to ask questions. but there was no deliberation. They voted, and then the results were shown up on the screen. And then the swearing in happened immediately.
I would think that our deliberations would be and should be short anyways.
Sorry, I took you off track.
That's okay. That's okay. We're actually just, we can go get the first candidate. Sure. Or Deborah can go.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, if you could direct them to the seat. Welcome. Welcome to your interview for the position of Trustee Milton 167 and 8. Each interview is being timed and will not exceed 10 minutes. We have a total of 3 questions for you that you received previously. Each question will be read aloud by the Vice Chair and displayed on the screen. Pace your answers accordingly. If there is time remaining, you may choose to present supplemental information. Please make yourself comfortable and help yourself to some water. And just a couple of other reminders. This is being video voice recorded. And also a reminder that this is for the position of, that's from September 5th to November 30th only, and is not the elected position that begins on December 1st for 4-year term. And you are welcome to begin anytime.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me here. It's my pleasure.
Kevin, could you?
I can start? Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Aram Amjad, and thank you for having me here. I have been an educator for almost 20 years now, and I'm a member of Parent Council for almost 13 years. And above all, I'm a mother of 3 children. I always believe, and my goal is that the school should be a safe and inclusive place for all children. Every day, everywhere, we all face challenges, regardless of being where, at home, at work, or even at school. With over 2 decades of experience in this field, I have come to realize that there are many challenges that our students of all ages are facing in school. We at school usually mostly emphasize on physical health and discardedly more on physical health of a child and disregarding the importance of their mental health. Many students, especially in high school or even in elementary, are facing stress, depression, anxiety. There can be many reasons. There can be peer pressure, competition with siblings or with friends, or also there can be getting good marks and going into the best institutes. I believe that we need to provide these students with more resources and tools to manage these challenges. We can also seek more support from the provincial government to run more workshops about mental health and create more programs for students to help to relieve these stress. Specialized teacher training programs can be very helpful in managing these challenges. School can offer more programs and activities like healthy breakfast or even yoga to promote mindfulness. Even small things like listening to music, getting more encouraging remarks from the teachers, or even talking to the guidance counselor or social worker can help them a lot. Another program that can help more students is animal therapy. And I think this is one of the best therapy, and it has proven that it's good for all ages. It's important to keep our schools safe, not only for our children, but also for the teachers. Violence, drugs, bullying based on gender, race, appearance, and region are some of the major issues that need to be addressed proactively. More parents' involvement in children's educational process and specialized programs and even workshops involving all stakeholders can be very helpful in addressing these challenges. Being part of the Parent Council, I learned how important it was to be more involved in the school, and it helped strengthen my relationship more with my daughters. I, like many other parents, used to always think that if my child wants to succeed in his life, or he needs to go to a very good professional line, he has to choose something good and go into the best universities. But then, through a workshop, I came to know there are more pathways, like the apprenticeship, where I think it's like on-job training and diploma, and it's very interesting, and it's as important as other pathways are. Another more sensitive thing is about the sex education, which I can say it has divided the community a bit, meaning some understand and some don't understand like what benefit it can give it to their child. If we can arrange more workshops for the parents and let them know that attending these classrooms can help their children in future. Milton is the fastest growing region, and it's a hub for families with small children and new immigrants. Milton School's population is very diversified and is a nice blend of multiculturalism, which is a strength of Canadian values. Being a developing community, the Halton District School Board is facing a challenge of overcrowding in most of the schools. The board has done a wonderful job to manage this challenge in the past, but continuous efforts are required to address this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. You still have some time. Did you want to provide us with any supplemental information?
Sorry?
You still have some time, so do you have any supplemental information you'd like to give us at all? Being the part of the Parent Council, I always try to involve parents into the council, because this is one thing I've seen. Even though we have a large number of students in schools, but when we are having our council meetings, we have very few parents. And I always try to talk in my community and outside of the community if they can get more involved, even in small things. And I just also spoke to them about the sex education as well, that being a teacher, because I work in a private sector, and I also tell them that it is important for them to learn about these things as well.
Thank you.
We still have 2 questions.
Oh, next question. Okay, Kevin, can you? Okay.
Okay, my contributions. Being a citizen of Milton, I have done my best to contribute back towards the community. Since 2006, I am part of the Parent Council. I've also served as a co-chair, a secretary, and also a head of the fundraising team. As a part of the council, I'm always focused on students' health and safety, creating cordial and healthy relationships with parents and teachers, and making our schools safe for our children. I have organized and participated in a number of fundraising activities for schools to provide more resources and tools for students to help them reach their full potential. Indirectly, I have always been advocating with the community for parents' involvement in schools and events. And I always tell them that do participate, even we have small things like pizza day, or they can help during lunchtime, or they can participate in classrooms like reading or helping out with writing as well. Another contribution was towards the school community, was to help establish and run the healthy nutrition program in Toronto. That was back in 2008, before I moved to Milton. Because of my experience, work ethic, and contribution, I believe that I can be an excellent candidate for the position for a school trustee. I've been an active member of Parent Council, and I've always participated in many fundraising programs. I also had an opportunity to work directly with the special need students. I also have an experience of working alongside with 2 school boards, Toronto District School Board and Halton District School Board, as well as a private educational sector. As an advocate for newcomers, I am able to communicate with a broader number of families in 3 languages, Urdu, Hindi, and Punjabi, other than English, which helps me share more information and welcome many new faces to our school. Being a teacher and a parent, I believe that we play a vital role in children's character and personality development, and together we can make an impact. I always persuade and motivate other parents to get involved with the school. Apart from school, I'm also associated with different not-for-profit organizations who also work for the local community. I've also done volunteer work with Town of Milton. I'm doing my best to pass my passion of community involvement to my kids and my friends. I have seen how hard the school trustee has been working for the past few years. And I have seen the decisions they are making is always for the betterment of our children. I would love to be the part of this awesome team. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And 10 seconds to spare, so thank you very much. You're welcome to stay in the gallery behind you, or you're welcome to wait outside. Thank you.
Yeah, I would love to stay.
Okay.
It's okay. Thank you.
welcome.
Okay, sorry, I hit it a second time. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, and welcome to your interview for the position of trustee for Milton Wards 1, 6, 7, and 8. Each interview is being timed and will not exceed 10 minutes. We have a total of 3 questions for you. If you could indicate between each question, like when you're done.
Okay.
Each question will be read aloud by our vice chair and displayed on the screen behind me. You can please pace your answers accordingly. If there is time remaining, you may choose to present supplemental information. Please make yourself comfortable and help yourself to some water. And just a couple of extra reminders that this is being video voice recorded and that this is for the position from September 5th to November 30th and has nothing to do with the actual election position that starts on December the 1st. You may, we'll start with Vice Chair Harrison reading the first question.
Thank you.
Hello, welcome. Question 1. What is the most significant challenge or opportunity facing public education, and how should the HDSB prepare for it?
I believe that there's lots of opportunities within the board right now. Certainly population growth is, on the forefront. In Milton, we're going to get another 10,000 homes pretty soon. And in Burlington, of course, the aging population and demographics have changed. Unfortunately, it would be the easiest thing would be just to move schools from Burlington right up to Milton, and our job would be done. But we're just going to have to kind of roll with what's going on and do the best that we can. And the recent provincial government will certainly bring changes to our education. And I think what we have to do there is just kind of remain calm, flexible, and try to be as prepared as possible. The changing education needs and the growth that we have are affecting the diversity, and I think it's really important that we keep in mind that there's lots and lots of stakeholders in our public education, and we need to try and cater to as many of those as possible and involve as many of those as possible. And when I say that, the stakeholders being the board, the trustees, the staff, the students, and our community, I think it's if we all work together and work towards sort of the same goals, which, the strategic plan is already set out for the next 4 years, and it's pretty amazing. And I think that, if we work towards that, it's a great guide for all of us. And when I say us, I just want to preface that with I've been with the board for 19 years and only just recently retired. So I still say us because I'm not of the mindset yet that I'm out of the school system. But anyway, I think that HDSB is already in the forefront and thinking way ahead with the strategic plan, considering innovation. Things like iSTEM is absolutely amazing. HDSB should continue to be the leader in preparing our students for the future, and I believe that they will. Being proactive by involving all the stakeholders is important, and I think that HDSB has a great vision and they have a great mission statement, and I think that when we keep on that track, it's win-win for everybody. And when we are attracting quality teachers, quality staff, are using the strategic plan and having the buy-in, I think that the students win on this all the time. Those are our biggest stakeholders always, and we have to be mindful of that. Of course, when we have the teachers that are the cream of the crop, and I've worked with many that are cream of the crop, we have to try and meet all of the students' needs, and we have to be inclusive, and that's absolutely critical. From our refugees to our newcomers to our students with ESL learning challenges, To our special needs kids and our regular learning students, they all need to feel that they are safe and in their learning environment. And that goes for schools all the way from Acton all the way down to Oakville. No school should be any different than the other. And I know that we have socioeconomic challenges as well in our community, or in the region, with Acton schools look different than Oakville schools. Should they? Probably not, and we should do our best to meet the needs of all the kids. And offering education at all the locations in a good, clean school with all the tools in the school is going to just help our kids grow and learn. HDSB is doing a great job because I've seen it firsthand with things like the Welcome Center and continuous relevant staff professional development. And I do say staff, it's not just teachers. They do an excellent job of providing professional development for all staff. And I think it shows within the school. And we all know that a well-educated and supported student becomes a great critical thinker and hopefully will strive for lifelong learning. And when we have that, then we know that our community will be filled with successful members and caring members of our community because they've received that within the school system. And that's what I have for question 1.
Thank you. Question 2. Please tell us about your most significant personal contribution to the HDSB and how you would apply this experience as a member of the board.
That's probably my hardest question out of the 3. And the reason I say that is because I've got 19 years under my belt. When I got dressed this morning, I was very proud to be putting on this watch that I received. I'm passionate about public education. I've worked with HDSB for a long time, from the north to the south. And my main focus for the last 10 plus years has been in Milton. I've worked with thousands of kids. And some of the absolutely most vulnerable students, and of course our students of excellence. I've worked with the gamut. I've worked with their parents, their teachers, their administrators, the support staff, and also being a parent of 2 boys that went through the French immersion system, which is excellent in this region. My boys are completely bilingual and have jobs that they use their second language. And while they were going through school, they were elite athletes. So I watched how the board and the system helped them along. I've put in personally countless hours of unpaid time supporting students and their families, things like creative learning materials and individual programming and collaborative problem solving in meetings, of which I wasn't expected to be there and it wasn't mandatory, but I felt it was because kids need a voice and parents need a voice, and if you're working with your students day in and day out, you should be there. And lots of supporting my colleagues and thinking on my feet critically in situations where I had to react like at the drop of a hat to keep kids safe, to keep staff safe. I've attended endless PD sessions, health and safety training to keep both staff and students safe, professional training and collective bargaining to understand the different processes, the parameters, and the perspectives of each of the partners. I was proud to be part of the negotiation team for the Halton District Educational Assistants, so I understand what the Crown, the board, and the union needed, and it was eye-opening. I've transferred my skills and my time working out in the community, along with my world travel because of my son being an Olympian. And I understand what it takes to create new programs. And probably one of the most key things that we're proud of as a family is that W.I. Dick has an elite, sorry, I'm really taken aback by this. W.I. Dick has an elite athlete program, which is absolutely amazing. I used to work at that school, and parents contacted me because I had my sons going through training, and they asked me, how do we make it happen? How can we get an elite athlete program at the middle school level? There was already, my son had already gone into Milton District High School, so we'd already worked through that. So then I helped as best I could with the parents and told them, sort of guided them where they could try and get the elite athlete program at W.I. Dick. And now I know that that is actually a legacy for our family, which is kind of cool. And a cool story I'm going to share with you because it's so important. Working at W.I. Dick for as long as I did, I had a little student, and his name was not Johnny, but I will call him Johnny. I worked with Johnny for 3 years. He was one of our most at-risk students ever. And on grade 8 graduation day, he said to me, Mrs. Garretts, I just want to tell you, thank you. I'm like, okay, what's up, Johnny? Thank you for keeping me out of jail for the last 3 years. So maybe that was my most significant contribution. I don't know. There's lots, you know. And that's the end of my question number 2. And I have 6 seconds left for the whole thing. Oh my God. Okay.
You've got this. Question 3. What makes you stand out as the best choice to effectively represent the community, the Milton community, as trustee for wards 1, 6, 7, and 8?
I work closely with all the local councilors right now, and I'm very aware of everything that's going on in our community, and my background knowledge says it all.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome to stay in the gallery to watch the other candidates or do whatever you like.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Is that working? Oh.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jensen.
Hi, Sarah. Welcome to your interview for the position for Milton, of trustee for Milton wards 1, 6, 7, and 8. Each interview is being timed and will not exceed 10 minutes. We have a total of 3 questions for you. Each question will be read aloud by the vice chair and displayed on the screen behind me. Please pace your answers accordingly. If there is any remaining time, you may choose to present supplemental information. Please make yourself comfortable. And just a couple of other reminders. This is video voice recorded. And this is also just for the interim position, September 5th to November 30th, has nothing to do with the elected position. Okay, if you could please indicate when you're done a question so we can flip it to the next question. Oh.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Vice Chair Harrison.
Thank you. Welcome. Question 1. What is the most significant challenge or opportunity facing public education, and how should the HDSB prepare for it?
I think the most significant challenge or opportunity, especially in Milton, there's a lot of multicultural issues in Milton. People are coming in from other countries and joining us in the Halton District School Board. There's language barriers and there's cultural differences. I think that the Halton District School Board has actually done a great job so far preparing for it and offering the Welcome Center, offering English as a second language. I think there's some wonderful things that were done. However, I think that that's something that needs to be worked on still in the future. I just can only imagine as a parent, if you brought your child here and you were new to the country, and especially if you had a child with special needs, or if you had a child that was gifted, or had a child with a significant mental health issue, how frightening that would be, and how different it is in our country and our culture as opposed to other places that they're coming from. And I think we need to make sure that the parents have resources as well, so that they completely understand what they're being told when they're explained what is going on with their particular child. I think that's it.
Thank you very much. Please tell us about your most significant personal contribution to the HDSB and how you would apply this experience as a member of the board.
Well, I was parent council chair for 6 years at Kilbride Public School. I have been part of the Halton District School Board as a parent since 2000, and I'm still there. So I've enjoyed my time there, but I think my biggest contribution has been as a parent council chair. We started off with 3 people on our council, myself, the treasurer, and our principal, and we sat and looked at each other. And so we decided to try and make it a very open atmosphere for parents and make sure everybody had their voice heard, that it was open to everybody to have their say. Even if everybody doesn't agree with each other, we can talk about it and discuss it. We ended up having a huge and very active parent council. We made fundraising records. We're very proud of ourselves, how much we've made for our school. I'm no longer at Kilbride School. My children are now in high school. But we felt we did a really great job there. I'm also a recipient of the Inspire Award, so thank you. And yeah, I think that my experience that I had at Kilbride School, how I use that as a board member is that I think what the board does is listens to people's ideas and concerns and in an honest, open way, and makes them feel heard. Even if you can't solve people's problems, as long as they're heard and they feel that they're given the proper amount of respect, I think that's important. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Question 3. What makes you stand out as the best choice to effectively represent the Milton community as trustee for wards 1, 6, 7, and 8?
Well, I'm the mother of 5. So as a mother of 5, in the mix, I have a child with a learning disability. I have a child with a facial difference. I have a child who decided that high school is all about partying and getting piercings. I've dealt with the whole gambit. I understand parents and what they're going through. I understand the kids. I have a great deal of empathy, and I think that in itself would be something I would bring to the community as a trustee. And I think, as I said, I feel like in our school alone, the time that I was there was the strike. There was tainted water in our well. There was perceived threat of violence from a parent, which was just perceived. But and our school was still peaceful because we brought everything up in council. We discussed it. We talked about it. We made people feel like we were really understanding their concerns, and I think I'm able to do that because I think that's what people need is understanding. Most of us either are or have been parents. And we understand that it's sometimes terrifying as a parent, and maybe you get over worried about things, but you still need to be heard. That's all. Thank you. I need that timer all the time in my life.
I'm a rookie.
So you do have some time left. Do you have any supplemental information you'd like to give us?
No, I think that's good. Thank you for your time. Thanks for the opportunity to come here. It's an experience. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. You are welcome to stay in the gallery to watch subsequent candidates or do whatever you like.
Sure. Can I take this water?
Yes. We do have a few minutes for a bio break if you would like to take one. Our next candidate is to be in the chair at 3:30. And for those of you in the gallery, if you need to know where the washroom is, it's through the glass door, and then you kind of jog just a little to the right, and you'll see it. welcome. Welcome to your interview for the position of trustee for Milton, wards 1, 6, 7, and 8. Each interview is being timed and will not exceed 10 minutes. We have a total of 3 questions for you. Each question will be read aloud by the vice chair and displayed on the screen behind me. Please pace your answers accordingly. And if you could indicate when you're done a question so we can have our audiovisual people switch it. If there is time remaining, you may choose to present supplemental information. Please make yourself comfortable. And just a couple of other reminders. One is that this is video voice recorded and that this position is only from September 5th to November 30th and has nothing to do with the election that's going on the 22nd of October. Okay, so we'll start with first question.
Thank you. Welcome. Question 1. What is the most significant challenge or opportunity facing public education, and how should the HDSB prepare for it?
You need to press the button on your microphone.
I think the biggest challenge facing the HDSB in public education is change, and I think that applies pretty much everywhere. And that's changing demographics, rapidly expanding populations, which create greater demand on resources, providing appropriate accommodations for students with special needs and providing appropriate accommodations for students with exceptional needs. That change would be something like keeping up with evolving technologies. Of course, learning to adapt to new environments wherever they present themselves. We've recently, of course, had a provincial election, and I know that new government has a different view of how things should be done than the previous government, and to some degree, as much as you can be proactive, you also have to be reactive, so you are adapting to that change as well. Further to that, there are the changes that go on, whether it's building new schools or where to locate those schools, where the populations need to be within those schools and what services need to be offered. But you still have existing schools, so the changes to those schools, do they exist as they are? Are they renovated? In some cases, I'm thinking of a school in Milton, the Martin Street School, where it was essentially, other than the facade, torn down and rebuilt. My children go to a school that is 10 years old. It's Tiger Jeet Public School, Tiger Jeet Singh Public School. That school is 10 years old, but in that 10 years, there have been some remarkable changes to that school. So I think as far as how we should prepare for it, it's as much trying to divine the future, seeing where population growth is heading, seeing what those demographics look like, understanding what the needs of those populations are going to be as best we can, to try and present something that accommodates the majority of the population as best as possible. That concludes my answer to question 1.
Thank you very much. Question 2. Please tell us about your most significant personal contribution to the HDSB and how you would apply this experience as a member of the board.
I believe my most significant contribution to the Halton District School Board, pardon me, was actually that of a student. I'm a product of the Halton District School Board. I started my school career at George Kennedy Public School in Georgetown and finished off at Georgetown District High School with Centennial Middle School in between. I was a middling student. I was not anybody's idea of a great academic, but it was, and coming from a blue-collar family, I wasn't really encouraged, nor was I discouraged to pursue higher education. But it was when I hit about the halfway point through high school and I realized there were greater possibilities out there. And speaking with teachers, particularly at Georgetown District High School, who really turned my head around and pointed me in a better direction. In January of 2017, I was reorged out of my job, so I had some time on my hands, and that gave me a great opportunity to volunteer at Tiger Jeet Singh. My youngest at the time was in senior kindergarten, So I had a chance to go on class trips, to volunteer in the classroom, to do things that I'd never had a chance to do with my eldest daughter. My wife and I had always participated in events after school, but never during the day. So it was really getting involved and having a great time in the classroom with the kids, whether it was doing something on school property or on a school trip, which was something I'd never really been exposed to in the past. So that's more on a micro level. Sorry, and that would be the conclusion to that question.
Thank you. Question 3. What makes you stand out as the best choice to effectively represent the Milton community as trustee for wards 1, 6, 7, and 8?
Well, as I mentioned, I grew up in Halton, and I am a product of the Halton School Board. And I've watched the communities in North Halton undertake a remarkable transformation over these past 20 years. I've been back in Milton for about 10 years now. The growth has obviously provided some real challenges, but it's also provided some real opportunities. Significantly, the demographics. I look up and down my street, and my neighbors are from all around the globe. They're very different. The demographics are very different from when I grew up. If you go back to the mid-'70s in North Halton, the communities looked very different than they do today. It was very insular, and people had a lot of preconceived notions. I think as generations have grown and as people have become more exposed to the world, particularly in some of the smaller communities, we've seen where some of those preconceived notions didn't hold water. They didn't make any sense. They were quite silly in some cases. In the past, I think we thought we were inclusive. I don't think we actually were. I think we thought we were diverse in some ways. I don't think that has proven to be true. So I see a lot of direct parallels to where we were and where we're going. I think conventions need to be challenged. When my youngest daughter last year, she had 2 classmates that had 2 moms. When I was growing up, it was a minor scandal when the kids down the street from me were revealed to have had 2 moms. Now, of course, we would look at that as silly and regressive. So I think how this relates to why I would be the best candidate for this position is really, it shows a progressive journey from being in one situation, which was fairly small, I guess would be a good way of putting it, to something that is much bigger, and how we learn and how communities learn and communities grow. I think that grows from both the macro level to the micro level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You still have a bit of time. Is there any supplemental information you'd like to provide us?
I mean, I could certainly get into, work experience. Is that something that you would care to hear about, or? Okay. So I started off I guess I was 16, and I saw an ad in the now defunct Halton Hills Herald, which is long gone, and they were looking for a high school columnist. I mentioned earlier that I didn't come from a family that had a lot of experience with post-secondary education. I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my life, so I thought, being a high school columnist at the local newspaper might be something interesting to try. I was lousy in math, so I was great at writing. And I was able to turn that into a brief foray into journalism. So I did the columnist role. I did a co-op as a journalism student at the Independent and Free Press. I thought this might be something that I would want to pursue as a career. I did the journalism program at Ryerson. Journalism school taught me that I did not want to be a journalist, though I did it for a few years afterwards. So I've sat in on meetings. I don't think I've ever actually sat in on a meeting here, but I've sat in certainly on town council meetings, on regional meetings, both in Halton and for a time when I lived in Windsor. So after doing that for a few years, I decided that I wanted to get into corporate communications, and really was very lucky. After a couple of shorter-term roles, I ended up at the University of Toronto. I worked there for 6 years in the midst of what was then Canada's largest fundraising campaign. It was a fantastic opportunity, and from there I went to the Canadian Standards Association, to the parent company. I was there for 11 years, and through more progressively senior roles in corporate communications before being reorganized out. In terms of community involvement, I guess it was in March of 2017, I was asked to join the board of the Townsend Smith Foundation, which is working to build a palliative care hospice in North Halton. Currently, for a population of almost 200,000, there are 0 hospice beds available for those that are at the end of their lives and want to die outside of a hospital setting. So, talking about demographics earlier, those demographics are showing that the population is going to double in the next 20 years, and we still have 0 beds. So the board predated me by about 6 years. I was asked to join last year, and through fundraising efforts, we've managed to increase our endowment by about 50%. I see that I'm running out of time, so I'll end it there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this point, you're welcome to stay in the gallery to watch subsequent candidate interviews or do whatever you like.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And the button's already been pushed. So.
Welcome to your interview for the position of trustee for Milton wards 1, 6, 7, and 8. Each interview is being timed and will not exceed 10 minutes. We have a total of 3 questions for you. Each question will be read aloud by the Vice Chair and displayed on the screen behind me. Please pace your answers accordingly. If there is time remaining, you may choose to present supplemental information. Please make yourself comfortable. And just a few other reminders. To make the microphone work, you hit the button. And this is being video voice recorded. And this is for the position from September 5th. To November 30th. It has nothing to do with the election on October 22nd. We'll start with the question from Vice Chair Al Harrison.
Thank you. Welcome. Question 1. What is the most significant challenge or opportunity facing public education, and how should the HDSB prepare for it?
Thank you for having me, Chair Gerbens and trustees. My name is Neil, as you all know. To address the question, what is the most important or significant challenge? I had the opportunity to attend a few meetings back in June, and I think a running theme was finances. I know there's an overarching or an immediate discussion regarding the health curriculum, but in my opinion, finances is the largest challenge that we face. Specifically, the funding shortfall, for example, the per pupil shortfall about $1,300 in Halton District School Board. So one of the boards that is a growing board, which is not as normalized as you would expect in the GTA. The second being the net reduction in the special education budget of approximately $2 million over the last 4 years. And the third being the delayed approval of new schools until they reach capacity, which is, as you all know in your discussions with parents and members at large, reflects poorly on the board, but also in the planning and so forth. I know they do a fantastic job, and I have been involved with those and in the planning discussions for boundary review committees, and I'll get into that later. And then lastly is the cash flow process change, which impacted, or I think there's a shortfall of about $750,000. $750,000, yes, in the last quarter. So, I think that is a direct impact on the services that the board can provide directly to Milton, Oakville, Burlington, and Halton Hills. In order to fix those gaps, I think steps have already been taken. Per the minutes, I think a letter has been, will be written or has been written to the Minister of Education, outlining those points. I think logical next steps are also distributing that or involving the public as well. Next is our local MPs. Having gone through this election, I think it's the perfect time to engage them and educate them as well. I understand from the debates that occurred during the last provincial elections, not all MPs were educated in what the issue was and how to best resolve it. So I think engaging the MPs at an early stage has a direct impact in terms of making sure our voice is heard, but also, Halton is prioritized as a whole. Perfect. That's all I had for the first question.
Thank you. Question 2. Please tell us about your most significant personal contribution to the HDSB and how you would apply this experience as a member of the board.
Sure. So I've been a member of the Boyne Parent Council for the last 3 years, so ever since it started. And we've seen a lot of growth, but a lot of challenges. And one of the biggest challenges is parent involvement. I've been involved in the PIC committee, the Parent Involvement Committee, in the first year. I was co-chair in the second year, and in our past year as the communications chair, and specifically I wanted to be part of the communications chair leading up to the boundary review that was taking place with Boyne and the schools in the district. So my experience has been, or my personal contribution has been, getting involved with the process, educating and communicating with the community through a Facebook page that we set up and soliciting feedback with various scenarios, and making sure that we are very transparent in the process and in the impact as well. Additionally, through the process, I'd like to add, you end up building relationships, and so there's a relationship already in place with fellow school board members, school council members, principals and vice principals. For example, for Boyne Public, we've had the vice principal being promoted to another school as well. So leveraging those relationships, and lastly, I've also worked with some trustees and have spoken to superintendents through the BRC process as well.
Thank you. Question 3. What makes you stand out as the best choice to effectively represent the Milton community as trustee for wards 1, 6, 7, and 8?
Okay. I've lived in Milton for over 12 years now, so I've seen the growth firsthand. And I also currently have 2 kids at local schools who will also be attending the new school, Viola Desmond, that's opening up in September-ish. I'm good at building relationships through my involvement with the council and members at large. More importantly, and coming back to the first question, is understanding finances. I know that every time an issue or item came up is what is the impact on finance, and how are we going to plan for it? There's only an X amount of money out there, and how do we leverage it the best? And again, communicate to the public and understand what the impact and repercussions are as well. And lastly, I come from a project management background. That's been my job for the last 8 years, and I think those skills would greatly add to this role. Thank you.
Okay, you still have some time available. Is there any supplemental information that you would like to share with us?
Nope, that's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You are welcome to sit in the gallery and watch the last candidate. I believe it's, yes, last candidate, or not. It's up to you. Thank you very much. Perhaps a 5-minute break. Yeah. Welcome. Welcome to your interview for the position of trustee for Milton wards 1, 6, 7, and 8. Each interview is being timed and will not exceed 10 minutes. We have a total of 3 questions for you. Each question will be read aloud by the vice chair and displayed behind me on the screen. Please pace your answers accordingly, and please let us know when you're finished a question so we can advance the slides. If there is time remaining, you may choose to present supplemental information. Please make yourself comfortable. And just a few other reminders. This is video voice recorded. And to use the microphone, you press the button. And also a reminder that this is only for the interim position from September 5th to November 30th. It has nothing to do with the election that's going on the 22nd of October. Okay, so we'll start with the first question.
Thank you. Welcome. Okay, question 1. What is the most significant challenge or opportunity facing public education, and how should the HDSB prepare for it?
First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for this opportunity and test the mic at the same time. I don't have to go close? Okay. I just have this feeling I need to be close to a microphone every time I'm in front of one. I think to answer this question, I'll go through a very quick story. When I was preparing for this interview, I sat myself in front of my computer, and like most people, I quickly Googled keywords, challenges, public education, Halton District School Board. And I found myself 2 a.m. on a Sunday morning at my computer trying to figure out the answer to this problem. And that's when I realized that I was approaching this response, and in fact, this entire interview, incorrectly. My greatest strength, I think, is my partnerships, my ability to network, my relationships. And what I did the next day is I bought about 4 different coffees, met with a myriad of parents, educators, administrators, and community members involved in the Halton District School Board, or at least in Halton, and asked them the specific question: what is to you the greatest challenge to this school board, to your kids, and to this community? And from that, I found it to be even more confusing, as I got issues such as overpopulated schools, resourcing, demographics, diversity, new Canadian integration. And that's when I realized the answer to this question. I suggest to you that the greatest challenge to this school board and to Milton's ward 1, 6, 7, and 8 is how we're going to, at the same time, concurrently handle or manage multiple issues. The issues of diversity, the issues of demographics, the issues of overpopulation, resourcing, and new Canadian integration. Thank you. Sorry, do you want me to go to the second part? I said thank you a little bit too early. So the opportunity that exists when you look at these multiple issues and how we're going to manage these multiple issues, when you're managing multiple issues, multiple complex issues, conflict always arises. And when you look at conflict, I recommend that conflict is the opportunity that exists at the board. Now, when I say that at workshops, people always ask me, Ali, what do you mean conflict is an opportunity? There's two key ingredients in conflict: people and emotions. There's 2 key ingredients in relationships: people and emotions. The difference between the two is the level of trust. Conflict has a low level of trust. Relationships have a high level of trust. Therefore, I think the opportunity here, if we use an effective conflict management system, is to build better relationships throughout the school board, throughout our school communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 2. Please tell us about your most significant personal contribution to the HDSB and how you would apply this experience as a member of the board.
So now that I've suggested that conflict is our greatest opportunity, allow me to explain. Sorry, I keep leaning towards the mic. It feels really good. Allow me to explain how we can use conflict as an opportunity, or how I was able to use conflict as an opportunity at Bruce Trail Public School. In 2016, I volunteered as a parent volunteer. And I found in my first year as a parent volunteer, there was a great deal of complex and simple conflict within the school, friction. If we define conflict by its simplest terms, it just means there's an indifference. The conflict that I experienced in my first year as a volunteer, there was conflict between the administrators, the educators, the parents. And what that was doing was affecting the student experience. In my second year, I decided to run for council, and I became the co-chair of the parent council. And what I set out as my goal, and our goal eventually for the year, was to effectively manage conflict, with the goal being to better or improve or develop new relationships. The two components of a good, effective conflict management system are communication and engagement. Communication should be open, inclusive, and responsive. Engagement, it can be person to person, through social media, through meetings. Combine the two, it's how you are present as a person and in this role as a trustee. So on the school council, sorry, the timer didn't go. So on the school, which is fine, thank you. So as a member of the school council, we set up focus groups. I set up meetings with various people involved in certain issues. But most of all, I addressed the issues, I addressed the conflict by sitting down with people and asking them to work with me. So collaboratively, collectively, we worked through many issues. And in doing so, I found at the end of my year, 2 months ago, we had a stronger parent council group, we had stronger engagement from parents, and overall, we had a healthier school community. Now, how would I apply this as a trustee? I understand that the role of a trustee is not to be the advocate of their constituents, the advocate of their wards, but a trustee has to be involved. A trustee has to understand the vibe of their community that they're representing, and at the same time, they have to carefully balance that with board requirements, board policies, and a governance framework. I don't think you can do the role of a trustee without doing some conflict management, without doing some communication and engagement. That's how I would apply this opportunity in my role as a trustee. Thank you.
So may I just ask, I made an error in not starting. I appreciate that you pointed that out to me. Would you agree that that 1 minute, that chunk that you said at the beginning is 1 minute, and that we would therefore stop at 1 minute when there's 1 minute to go?
Can we stop? Can we barter at 59 seconds? Is that nuts? 1 minute is totally fine. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I just want to also check with the folks in the audience whether that is I want to be very fair to everybody else. Is that agreeable to you as well? Okay. I know it's an awkward question. I just want to, in the spirit of consultation and engagement, make sure that we're fair to everyone. Okay. Question 3. What makes you stand out as the best choice to effectively represent the Milton community as trustee for wards 1, 6, 7, and 8?
I think there's 3 key things that I bring to the role of a trustee. I think the first is I like to collaborate. I strongly believe in relationships, partnerships, working with stakeholders. I look forward to working with and learning from all of you as we look at ward issues and community issues within our respective wards. I think it's very powerful when you come together as a group to manage an issue or resolve an issue. And I think the greatest part of doing it as a group, as a strong team, is that it's a sustainable solution afterwards, because you've empowered people along the narrative or along the path to that solution. You've given people the power to be able to go past the solution as they go into future years. The next thing is I care. I can certainly appreciate your service. I served with the Army for 23 years, so I understand public service. I understand the commitment it takes. I also understand the lack of acknowledgement that you get. I also understand and respect the amount of work you put into your respective roles as trustees or on the board itself. I care about people. I care about the ideas that affect people. I care about details. So in a sense, I care. And I think if you bring collaboration and care together, it's a very powerful 1-2 punch, if you will. It's a very powerful combination. And then finally, I adapt. I'm comfortable with change. I think it's part of our evolution. I think change is welcome. Positive change is welcome. And I think with change comes some growth. And I look forward to growing or changing with you in Halton. I think we have a lot of issues arising. I think the impact of Toronto, or the GTA, if you will, is being felt in Halton. I think we have issues at various levels. But one of the qualities I do bring to the table is my adaptability. I've worked with federal, I've worked with NATO, United Nations, I've worked with municipal, local groups, and I care about each one of them equally, because I think if you can't look past the people that you work with and you look at the organization, then you and yourself are setting yourself up, your team up, for a short-term solution. I think it's important as an advocate to make sure that everyone who's involved has a voice, an equal voice, an inclusive voice at the table, regardless of what the issue is. And so through collaboration, through caring for people and their issues, school communities, and through my ability to adapt, or change, and learn, I think I'd make a great trustee for the Halton District School Board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that was the last, you were the last candidate. At this point, we will move to our,
He has a minute 35.
oh, I'm so sorry. You have a minute 35 seconds. Do you want to provide any supplemental information?
Sure. What I'd like to do is not take up much more of your time, but I'll just simply talk about the handout that I provided. The handout illustrates what I was talking about, the challenge within Halton, the opportunity, and how I was able to implement a conflict management system. It's a flow chart with the flows going north to south. The other side is a picture of me as a younger man with a darker beard, and it illustrates what I bring to the role of a trustee. Please have a look. If you have any questions, by all means. Thank you.
There won't be any questions at all. We're not allowed to ask any. So thank you very much for the information, and we'll be moving to the next phase. Trustee Oliver.
Thank you, Chair. We have 6 very good candidates, and I'm wondering if I could request that we are permitted some time to go through our thoughts and notes in order to decide on the successful candidates.
Okay.
For ourselves.
For ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay. Would 10 minutes be a reasonable enough time? Is that okay with everybody? 10 minutes? Okay. Thank you very much. 20 after. We'll move to the next stage then. Thank you. Our next phase, which is public deliberations. This will also be video voice recorded. And then after that, we will move to a secret ballot. So what we're going to do is, I guess we'll start on this side with Trustee Reynolds. And if you would like to speak, speak. If you would not like to speak, you can just say pass. Okay. Yes, please keep things general.
My remarks are more focused on all the candidates. I just wanted to thank them for coming out, putting their names forward. It says a lot about the quality of individuals in our community. I think it takes a lot of guts and a lot of, I want to say, goodness in your heart to put your name forward. So I thank you all for that. And I really want to encourage every one of you to ensure you register for the election, because the people of Milton will have some great candidates to select from. I don't think I'm comfortable really to speak about the individual, every individual. I've made a lot of comments, and I'm good to vote. Thank you.
Trustee Oliver?
I would echo Trustees Reynolds' remarks. Thank you very much for putting your name forward. It's a challenge, and it shows your dedication to public education, which we truly appreciate. Thank you.
Trustee Amos?
Thank you, and thank you very much, everyone, for putting your name forward. It takes a lot of courage, and you've made our decision very difficult. Thank you.
Trustee Harvey Hope?
Thank you. It takes a lot to put your name forward. It also takes a lot to realize that there are differences between being staff and school council members and board members and administrators, senior staff, and the director. We all have different roles to play, and but I was very encouraged to see that all of the candidates were very interested in collaboration and listening and engagement and being part of a team. So I'm hopeful that whoever the candidate is, that Milton will be well served with having a listening ear.
Vice Chair Al Harrison?
Thank you. Just echoing my colleagues, thanks for putting your name forward. It was an honor and a privilege to hear what everybody had to say. As I reflect on my time as a trustee, one of the biggest challenges for me is cynicism in the community. And I was really grateful to hear each and every one of your approaches to overcoming cynicism and working with the system to make things better for our students, which is really at the heart of it. So thank you very much.
Trustee Danielle?
Thank you. My colleagues have already said so much and so eloquently, and I would echo everything that they say. This is my third time through the appointment process, and it never gets easier. And thank you all for making it so difficult. It's a very, very difficult decision we face today, particularly for me, because we're looking for someone who will serve as my fellow Milton trustee. And I was so impressed with each and every one of you that I know I'm going to come out of here today with a partner in crime in Milton that is going to be wonderful to work with. And I thank you very, very much, not only for being here for today, but the many of you that I know within the community, the work that you do within our community has been exemplary and very much appreciated. And I'm very much looking forward to working with any one of you, because I thought you all really, really exceptional. So thank you so much.
Trustee Pappen?
Thank you. Just to reiterate what my colleagues have said, I think you all made some very, very good points. I think any one of you would serve us very well, and I really appreciate you coming out today. I also want to just follow up on Trustee Reynolds' point that, please consider running in the upcoming election. You would all serve very well, and it's a completely different process than what you've been through now, but I do appreciate what you've done here today. Thank you.
Trustee Gray.
Thank you very much. By the time you get to this point in the room, it's pretty much all been said. But I do have something new to say, and that is I sat in that very chair that you did this afternoon. 4 years ago, I tried to be the person in the place of an opening that occurred actually in Milton for trustee position. So I actually went through that interview, know exactly how it felt to be there, and was really, really happy to have had that experience. Today you have, through your interviews, modeled through much of what you've said, the values that we have as an organization, the values of integrity, creativity, accountability, equity, collaboration. In fact, all of these that have been noted, including empathy. And those are very, very important. I think all of us have those near to our heart, and we model it every day as a team of trustees. And I heard all of that through your interviews today. So like everyone else has said before me, thank you very much. It has and will be a very difficult decision for all of us to make, but thank you again for coming today.
Trustee Collard.
Thank you for coming out today and for giving us your time and trusting us with making this difficult decision. Your passion, your compassion, and your best wishes for the board were very well heard by all of us in the room. It is not an easy decision, as others have indicated, and I wish you all the very best. And I look forward to working with one of the 6 of you for the next 5 months. Thank you very much.
And comes back to me. I also want to say thank you very much. This is the first time that I've had to put people through this process, and having only been through an election myself and not through an appointment process, this has been a real eye-opener. And I want to reiterate what my colleagues have said. This has been a great eye-opener to the passion that people have for education. And I do hope that the 5 of you that are not selected keep that passion with you and work in other ways to help education. So I guess we're moving on to the secret ballot now. So Director Miller, will you distribute that, please? Okay, so while Director Miller is handing out the ballot, please only place one name on the ballot, and please fold it up before placing it within the ballot box.
Madam Chair, while the votes are being collected, may I ask who the scrutineers will be? You should advise of the process.
Deborah and Gail Gortmaker and Deborah McFadden will be the scrutineers. And we only So we just give the successful name unless there is a tie. Yes, it has to be a majority vote, yes. So as per the procedure that was sent to you in the email, if there is a tie, and it could be multiple ties, 6 candidates, we could have multiple ties. The candidates that are below the tie would drop off, and we would go further with a next vote to bring it down to a majority vote. We have a clear, successful candidate, and that is Reza Al-Chowdhury. Okay, so that adjourns this meeting. This evening at a special board meeting at 7:30, we will be ratifying that decision, and the swearing-in ceremony will be on September the 5th. Between the ratification tonight and the swearing-in ceremony, you will receive some information, materials, that sort of thing. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone.